Hello, everyone, and welcome to Garden Gossip, the Home and Garden Show, with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Hey everybody, welcome. Today we're chatting with travel writer Debbie Stone. She's on our show all the time. We call her Fire Monkey because that's the name she was given when she went back east to South Asia, and it stuck with her ever since. And I think she is a fire monkey. And fire monkeys need to go into a good garden and have some calm time, and she travels all the time. So she just came back from Bloedel-Reserve in Washington State, and she's joining us today to tell us all about it. It is one of the top 10 botanical gardens named in USA Today about that. So check that out. You can go to their website. It's Bloedel-Reserve.org, and that's BLOEDEL reserve.org. So how are you doing, Fire Monkey?
I'm doing quite well, especially after having such a lovely visit to the Bloedel-Reserve. It really does help your body, mind, and spirit to go outdoors to nature, to visit parks, and also people almost forget that there are wonderful gardens around the country that are, in my mind, just as therapeutic as going to a park, a national park, state park, or the mountains or the beach or whatever. But these gardens are just, I think they do wonders for you, especially, during the challenging times that we have right now.
I so agree. Absolutely.
I think it's interesting, too. We've been to some gardens, too. I know we're having a whole garden festival happening on our radio show on Big Blend Radio. And, we're talking about, we went to the Frederick Meyer Gardens. We went to Longwood Garden, Frederick Meyer over in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Amazing sculpture park inside there, one of the top open-air art galleries you can go to. Also, we went to the Longwood Gardens in Michigan, and now I got my towns screwed up here. I'm like, what town were we in? We went to Longwood, and that was in Pennsylvania, in Kennett Square. Yeah, I got it straight. I was right. Kennett Square area, just outside Chad's Ford. We were staying at Wild Wisteria Bed and Breakfast, and they're like, you've got to go here. I'm like, oh my gosh, and it's one of the top most visited gardens too, and they have water features and fountains and all of these places. When we were going through them, we were like, we actually have to count these gardens as being a park on the Love Your Parks tour because they are parks. This is a place where the public can go in, see gardens, and they always seem to have some kind of idea garden or some kind of educational thing of what you can do if you're a local. But for visitors too, it seems to be just such a place to just calm and have that, just that respite. And some of them are staging times to get in. Did you have that happen when you went there in Bloedel-Reserve, being in Washington State and near Seattle? Did they stage the times of visitation?
Yeah, Bloedel is open, I think it's Tuesday through Sunday, and you have to do timed entry, booked in advance tickets that tell you when you can enter so that they can, keep track of how many people are coming in and have, monitor that number. And, social distancing, of course, is required, and masks, but masks if you are around people. They do say that if you are on the trails and there aren't people around, then it's perfectly okay not to, have your mask on at that moment. But if there are any people around, you need to have masks on.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's understandable. It's just about a 35-minute ferry ride from downtown Seattle at the waterfront there, and you get onto Bainbridge, which is a very idyllic island, very charming, beautiful, big trees, great water views, beaches, parks. And Bloedel is at the north end of the island from the ferry terminal, so you just drive straight up north. And it is, I would say, I think to me it's just this incredible oasis. I say that to people. I say go find your Zen there because it's really quite quite the place for, I think, a meditative environment that is conducive to that. And it has a wonderful history. It's a really a horticultural treasure. The community really loves it and supports it. And although there are a lot of Puget Sound guests that come and visitors, there are people from all over the country and all over the world that come to see it. People that love gardens, the people are just looking for places to walk amid natural beauty. And it really is. It's got a great walking trail. I think it's a little under 2 miles, and takes you through all these different landscapes. It's like you're going into a different little house every time you go through one of the areas. It's great.
Oh man, that's it. It's like you are.
That.
It's like they take in what a microclimate is. As gardeners, we know like one side of your house is going to be different than the other side. It's like, okay, and what can you do with that? And that's inspiring. I think now, do you think people going there are more inspired to garden themselves?
I think so. I think really they go and they see and they say, oh, look what can be done here, and maybe I can do something like this on a really tiny scale in my backyard, or I love these trees, I love these bushes, or I love these flowers, I love these plants, I love this moss, and they get kind of their eyes open to what is possible. And of course, this is a 150-acre property, so there's lots of room to plant many different wonderful things, but you get ideas and you see how textures and colors work,
that's interesting because when we were in Wild Wisteria Bed and Breakfast, and they're in Chadds Ford, this bed and breakfast, this building is from the 1790 or something, in the 1700s. This is, I think, the oldest bed and breakfast we'd stayed in this country.
Wow.
And, the 1700s. I'm like, dude, was it haunted?
So cool.
Well, anyway, they chose
cool
to purchase this property just because of Longwood Gardens being around the corner, because she is an avid gardener. She has traveled the world going to botanical gardens. And her backyard, like, this is an oasis. She's gardening. She's not Longwood Gardens, but she's taking inspiration and putting it in her bed and breakfast, which I think is amazing. Like that a garden had that much of a thing to make someone buy a bed and breakfast in that location. You know what I mean? That's the power, I think, of these places.
Yes, definitely. And, some places have great, wonderful histories. This one has a very interesting one because the original owners of the property, Prentice and Virginia Bloedel, were philanthropist, and he was I think a timber magnate, but they bought this property, this raw land, and they turned it into this incredible paradise and shaped that landscape, and they were able to have had the help and assistance of really well-known landscape architects who helped them design it. But they had such a passion for nature, and they saw what it could do for people. And then later on, years later, they gave the reserve to the community, and I believe it opened in 1988 to the public. And so it has a great history with that. And there are houses there, which is just really wonderful. It's the residence, and it's this really stately, beautiful home that usually in normal times you could tour the first floor, and there were programs that were held there. Right now you can't go inside, but you can sure walk around, and in the back is this bluff and this incredible picturesque view of Puget Sound. So you can appreciate the setting and think to yourself, boy, what it would have been to have lived on this piece of property.
Yeah. Wow. And I love that it was a residence. I think that was really cool about Longwood Gardens. It was from the DuPont family, and they lived there at one point. And Frederick Meyer, when we went to those gardens, they brought in some of their life, the farmhouse and everything from Mrs. Meyer into the landscape. But also, I know that you're very familiar with Tucson, Arizona, and Tohono Chul Park, and even the Tucson Botanical Gardens were all residencies first.
Right.
And I think that's what's really cool, is to someone went out there every day of their life looking at what bloomed, who needed water. They walked there like at least 3 times a day to see what was going on. And that, the residents, I think that's what's so special when it's a residency that opens into a botanical garden.
And what a wonderful thing to do, to have this incredible Eden, this incredible environment, and then to, give it to, give it to the public, and let them appreciate it and love it just as much as they did. I mean, I think what a legacy that is. It's just a wonderful thing to do, and I know that everybody who goes there sure appreciates the fact that it was, given to the public for that purpose,
For sure.
And this one has, so you're in Washington State, and whenever you think of Washington State, you think of trees and water. And so you have a forest walk in there. And I love this where, a botanical garden and such will say, okay, we're going to show you our natural landscape, as well as, hey, we're going to show you something a little different too from other countries. And it seems like they've really adopted this, hey, we're going to show you our natural landscape through meadows as well as the woodlands.
Right. Yeah. You go through, as I said, like different areas and the meadows, and then you go through the woodlands, the forests, when they do these firs and ferns and cedars, and then you go into the marsh and meadow area, and there's all sorts of migratory, birds and resident ducks and geese, and there are wildflowers, and there's the nice viewpoints, nice seating, and then you go, you walk down, and for me, I was really stunned by this site from what they call the mid-pond, which is looking toward the residence. But it's just, at first you look at it, and it looks like this green carpet on the water, and you're thinking, what is this? Is this algae? What is it? I mean, it was so green, and I inquired about it because I was just curious, because I thought, do they have this algae problem, and they haven't, what is it? I mean, it was beautiful. The way the view was beautiful, but I was just curious, and they told me no, it's not algae. It's this plant, this flowering plant that's called watermeal, and it's these tiny little budding off these little new plants that come from the older ones, and it just kind of spreads really quickly. And normally they skim it every so often, but this year they're a little behind schedule because of the pandemic and not having the cruise, and because they had to stay, they couldn't come out, and so they are, though, wanting, instead of to do that, they are going to be introducing this type of fish, the grass carp, and that this particular species will eat the plants. And so this will be a natural way of dealing with this. I mean, I think it was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful, and I thought, I love this. I really personally liked it because it just was such an interesting view, interesting scene for me.
Well, I think we call it duckweed in the Southwest. If I could just say that, I think it's probably the same thing.
That's a good question. I don't know, but it was just interesting. They made it very distinct that it was not an algae; it was a flowering plant.
It's actually plant. It's almost distantly related to water lilies but way distantly related, and it's a natural plant that occurs and provides oxygen to it does its job, and it's not a bad thing. But I understand when people are like, oh, that's too much of that.
Yeah, well, I think people get curious and they're like going, this looks like an algae issue or something, but it really is not. But like I said, I personally thought it actually looked quite beautiful, to be honest with you. And then there's another favorite area was the Japanese garden and the Japanese guest house, which is if you've been to Japanese gardens, they're lovely. And this one is supposed to be one of the best in the country. And the trees were beautiful, and the maples. And then there's this really wonderful little wishing bench there, and the house itself was the guest house for the Bloedels, and it looks like it's Japanese of course, Asian in style, but it kind of is Japanese meets Northwest Coast Native American longhouse in a way, and very, very, very simple, fits in with the environment. And originally, I guess the area was a swimming pool, but there was a tragic death there of the famous poet Theodore Rothke, and so they created a sculpture there initially, but then they removed it and put in this incredible sand and stone garden, which I love those types of gardens. I think they're very, very distinctive of the Japanese culture, and they're also very oriented to simplicity and meditative qualities, I think.
I agree. And there's something, it's meditative to me. It is that moment of Zen where you just contemplate, even looking at each, a piece of sand, right? You see the sand gardens with them, how they rake and do those meditation gardens. It makes you even contemplate just even the grains of sand. Yeah, and to understand the little things in life.
It is. I think sometimes when things are really stripped down, clean forms, you have a better chance of maybe being less distracted, and being able to focus and, as they say, clear your mind. So I stayed there for a little while because it was really a place of peace. That whole area was just a place of peace for me.
Mm. Oh, wow. That's really cool because you've done a lot of travel over the summer. So it must have been kind of a, hey, we get to calm down a little bit.
It was, it was lovely. It was, it really is. And then there's a moss garden, which is amazing. I love moss. I think moss is just.
I know, isn't it cool?
It's so cool. It's like it's like once again like a carpet, and it's so. I love how it grows, and I don't know. I just when I was in the Olympic National Park, there's the hanging moss, the dripping moss, and. If you've been to the South, it's like, it's just, I love moss.
It's so weird because it's like people like, oh, no. And I'm like, no, it's just check it out, dude. It's cool.
Yep.
And it just keeps on keeping on.
Yes, and it's, I don't know, to me it's a very cool thing. So I said in my story, if you're into moss, great. Even if you're not, I think you're going to be really wowed by the moss garden, And then there's the reflection pool, which is, very different in itself, very simple too, but yet very kind of formal in fashion because it has these, sheared bushes. Yes.
Almost presidential, and I was looking at the photo. I was like, but so when you go to gardens, and I want to ask you about this because Nancy and I have done so many parks and so many gardens, and there's a tendency to go wild. There's the tendency of time limits, right? Yeah. And then it's like suddenly you just want to sit down and like, okay, I don't care if I don't do all of it. I just actually want to enjoy the scenery. It's like, as travel writers, you stay in a bed and breakfast, and it's like, you know what? You need to sometimes just go sit on the porch and actually enjoy the bed and breakfast, or just enjoy the breakfast. We get rolled around so fast, and I know COVID is a different time and everything, but when you go to a place, like I get giddy. I've become like a geek on iNaturalist now. Have you seen that app on your phone?
No.
I'm just saying because I know you geek out on nature stuff like I do. Check it out. It's very cool.
Okay.
Check it out. Seek iNaturalist.org. Check it out, people. It's really cool because you can see all the species when you're traveling. You can put it on your phone. Look at the species of plant and it'll tell you what it is
for you.
And if you submit it, even if you don't do it on your phone, you could submit it online with your camera footage. You could help. It's part of citizen science, right? And so you're helping research projects across the country and around the world. It's very
I love
cool.
that.
I know. It's my new thing, man. It's like I got kicked off Facebook because of being hacked, but I got iNaturalist, so I'm happy. But it's like I swapped it out. This is the coolest thing ever. But when you go, like, how do you kind of balance your trip? Because there is that thing of you want to see everything, but then how do you really experience everything.
Well,
You
I
really can't.
think it is a balance. And for example, if I go to a place like, if I'm going to a very, a national park, which is, quite extensive in terms of landscape, there's no way I'm going to be able to see everything at that national park. I can't hike all those trails, so I have to pick and choose, and then come to peace with myself and say, this particular part of the park I've seen, I love it, it's wonderful. Maybe I'll come back another day. Hopefully I'll come back another day and see another part of this park.
Exactly.
But I have to balance that, because if I try to run around like a mad woman, it really kind of doesn't. It's not good for me, because I really don't get to really appreciate. And this garden, thankfully, you're able to see what you can see on this wonderful trail, and you can and stop and spend as much time as you want. You don't have to be. There's no rushing. Nobody's pushing you. Nobody's telling you to get out. It's just. And for me, when they provide the benches and the nice areas that you can sit at, you can. That's purposely done so that people can stop and really appreciate their surroundings. It's one of those things where it's like, sit. You can look, observe things that you wouldn't see if you're just walking by them. Take the time to let your mind wander, activate your senses, all that kind of stuff. But, I do take those moments, because I think that's important. Otherwise, I don't think I would really get a true and real accurate sense of a place unless I really take the time to appreciate it.
I so agree. You have to put your feet on the ground so that you're connected. You can't be running around all the time. You have to have those moments where you truly connect with the destination. Absolutely.
Yes, and in places that are vast and expansive, you really are going to have to make that sometimes agonizing decision of, okay, where do I want to go? What really, what part of the park or place do I really want to see? Or even if it's a city, what part of the city do I want to see?
And the thing is, this is what's so cool, because it means you can always go back.
Right.
I like that. I always say to people, we travel in circles, because we do. Because you can't see it all. You can never see it all. And that is what makes travel so great.
It is.
If you could see it all in one visit, it's hardly worth going.
If it's that, it's like, okay, if it's that limited, then but I think Bloedel, for example, it's not a huge. Yes, it's 150-acre place, but as visitors, you go on a nice trail, and they want you to stay to the trail, which I understand. But that's the kind of place that. If I'm back in Seattle, and I go back quite often, or I'm in the Northwest, that's a place that I would seek out to go again and again and again. And I know that people who live there, they go there quite often. You can become a member for the year and go in to the, place and as much as you want, and to me that's the pleasure of that kind of place. It's there for you to enjoy and for you to appreciate.
And
this
gardens
has been
are living.
I was going to say, it's been there for a while.
Different.
And so
Sorry.
it's 150 acres. It's been there for a while, but I know that you used to live up in Washington and Seattle area. Did you go there before? Was this like your first time?
I have. No. I've been there before. I've actually been there. I've probably been there maybe. I lived in Seattle for about 25 years. I probably was there for at least a couple of times. Bainbridge Island was a really wonderful getaway for people in the Seattle area, because for me, once I get on a ferry, I feel like I'm gone. I'm gone away.
Yeah.
It's like it's only 30 minutes outside the city or whatever to get to the island.
But
I feel like I'm on. Yeah, it's like I feel like immediately I'm in a different world, and immediately I'm on vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's just for the day, it doesn't matter. It's a wonderful outing for people, and a great escape to get to this beautiful place.
I love it. I love the fact that they have, here's like this residential place, but then they have like the woodlands and the meadow, which I think is, those two things are so crucial, because it's showing like the native plants. I love that. I love that Botanical Gardens. back in the day, botanical gardens rarely showed that side. And I think they've really, over the last 10, 15 years, made a stance of showing what you could do in your own yard and really stepping up to the native plant step, if you will, where here's the meadows and, this is what we can do that's natural. And we can, take care of the native species like monarch butterflies and things like that. So I really, really appreciate that part of what you did here, where you went. Yeah.
I think not only that, it's like these gardens, can teach people. They are educational tools. You can learn about the different plants and the different species, what grows, what are its challenges, and what is the wildlife and the bird life and all of that. And I think it becomes a wonderful educational tool. It's very important.
It is.
Not only for the psyche, but just for our own knowledge of nature.
Absolutely.
Everyone, check out Bloedel-Reserve.org, and I just keep want to say something different. That sounds like Bluto. It's weird.
Bloedel.
I know. Bloedel is Bloedel. Bloedel-Reserve.org is the website to go to, and definitely if you go to Washington State, go there. And is it open year round? Yeah, it is.
Yes.
I'm reading an article
right
now.
It's open year round, and what is nice about it is, of course, things change seasonally in terms of, growth and in terms of how things look, and the landscape is really various when you come and visit in the summer versus the fall versus the winter versus the spring, and so that in itself makes it, oh my gosh, you could see something different when you come at a different time of year.
I love that. I love that also because I think people think in the upper states that gardens should shut down, and that's totally not true because life still happens in a garden, even with snow. Life still happens. There's still something to see, and when a garden is good, you have architectural beauty, too, in the winter. So check it out. Yeah, so very cool. So our song for you, we love to play music for you, Debbie.
Oh, yes.
And, of course, for our audience. So our song today, and I think we've played this before for you, one of the shows you've been on, but it makes sense because you went into the forest at Bloedel-Reserve. We're going to play the forest song. It's called Mori, the forest song, and it's from Yagull, the band Yagull, and it's from the album Una. And I have to say, it's an amazing duo, just an amazing duo that has been on our show. Sasha and Kana is from Japan. So I thought we should play this for her. And they both are in New York City now, but she's from Japan, and I thought the forest song, that makes sense. So
sounds
here
very
it is.
appropriate.
And everyone, we're going to be featuring the article up on blendradioandtv.com, so you can see it there. Just type in Bloedel-Reserve, and again, that's Bloedel, Bloedel-Reserve. Go to their website, especially too, Bloedel-Reserve.org, and you'll also see it on an upcoming issue of Big Blend Radio and TV magazine. So here it is, Mori, the forest song. Thanks so much, Fire Monkey.
Thank you for having me, ladies. Talk soon.
Yeah,
all right,
take care.
Take care and behave yourself.
All right.
You too.
See you in the garden somewhere soon.